Coming up on the Empowered Woman podcast.
More business owners have recurring revenue in their business. They don't experience that kind of stress, and it frees them up to focus on the things that matter most. And it frees them up to be able to move forward in their business with confidence, whether it's, investing in their marketing or hiring into their team. But you can do that with confidence when you know that the money is going to come from your membership.
Welcome to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on visibility strategies for women entrepreneurs. If you want to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice and business, you're in the right place. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marcia Spurk, and I'm your host, professional singer and visibility strategist. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. Ever thought about investing in the stock market but don't know where to start? Introducing Market Minds by Market Start, the all-new platform designed to make stock market investing simple, fast, and profitable. So why wait? Start your journey to financial success today. Visit themarketstart.com and take control of your future. Hi, Stu. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, super great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited coming from having done your program and being in your world for so long and having been interviewed by you about the power of memberships. Now I get to have you on my show officially. So welcome. But for those who don't know who you are, have lived under a rock, tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, since 2008, so this is a long time, 17 years, I have been helping entrepreneurs with one thing and one thing only, and that is helping them launch recurring revenue memberships. And I'm really passionate about it. I just wrote a brand new book called Predictable Profits, which is all about it. But there's a reason, and it's because the #1 stressor of all business owners, survey after survey, reveals the #1 stressor is finances. Like, where is the next sale going to come from? And most businesses, they have a broken business model. It's dependent on a promotion or a launch or a client or hoping that customers are just going to come back and buy from them again. And what I want to do is I want to eliminate that financial stress. And that's exactly what this book shows people how to do. And the way we do that is by creating recurring revenue memberships, where you're not hoping that people are going to come back and buy from you again, but that you know with certainty that at the beginning of the month, you're going to get paid by those members that are in that membership. And it just transforms the way in which we think about and approach business. And I'm really passionate about it. And so for, since 2008, this is the only focus that I've been had. And we help people in all kinds of different markets, from photography and calligraphy to fitness and finance and music and art and health and dog training. And there are so many crazy obscure niches that people have built tremendously successful memberships. And that's what I am locked in and focused on helping people do.
I love that. And you have so many Stu stories. They have been Stu stories, and I'd love to hear some of them. But I'd love to also know, like, the beginnings. How did you get into, okay, I'm going to talk about memberships and this is the thing? I'm sure it didn't just start there. How was that beginning?
Yeah, well, in the early days of growing my business, I had some early success. So from like 2005, to 2008, I had built a really successful consulting business. And it was a great business. It was producing, mid 6 figures. It was providing everything that I had ever dreamed of, as an entrepreneur. But it was a great business, but it was a broken business model. And the reason was because I was trading my time for money. And so although it paid very well, I was still at the beck and call of all of my clients. So when they wanted to do a promotion, that meant I was doing a promotion. And when multiple clients wanted to do promotions at the same time, it meant that I was burning the candle at both ends. And so in 2008, my wife and I had just gotten married the year earlier, and we were talking about starting our own family. And I just had this moment of realization that I cannot be a present husband and father if I am working myself to the bone. And so I knew something had to change. And that's when I was talking to a mentor of mine, And he suggested that I teach others what I was doing for my clients inside of a membership. And I had no idea what that was, but he explained it to me that all I would need to do is teach my lessons one time, and hundreds or thousands of people could access them and they'd pay for it on a monthly basis. And he said, it'll be transformative for your business because every single month those members will pay. And I liked the idea of that. And so in 2008, I set out to create my very first membership. And it was a challenge. It was really difficult because the technology then was not what it is today. And so I was deep in things like htaccess files and server settings, and it was just way over my head. And I was frustrated by that. And I was moaning and groaning to a friend of mine who then, and I said, I just want to teach. And he said, well, why don't you create your own membership solution? And I was like, this is the furthest thing from my mind. Like, I am struggling with the tech and you're telling me to go and create a tech solution? And I was like, no, dude. And he said, well, look, I've got a programmer that I've worked with for years. Why don't we team up and create it together? And so we did. And in 2008, we created a software solution called Wishlist Member. And it went on to become the world's #1 membership platform for WordPress. And before I knew it, we were powering tens of thousands of online communities and memberships. And so being behind the scenes of that first software company, I saw what worked and what didn't when it came to growing a membership. I since sold my shares in that company and I've started another, membership software platform, which is membership.io. But that really was the turning point for me because when I'm behind the scenes of tens of thousands of communities, I was seeing what the sites that were growing year over year were doing differently than everybody else. And that really began the journey of teaching others how to grow successful memberships.
I love that. And I will continue the conversation about memberships, but something that just came to mind was the whole mindset aspect of this, of seeing what works, of pivoting, people giving you suggestions. And one of the things that impacted me the most to this day, and I bring this up all the time in interviews and when I do speaking, is the mindset pieces that you share as being a part of your program. And I remember I wrote it in a Post-it note and I would look at that all the time saying, people pay me for what I know. And that was something that I really needed to hear because we go through moments in our entrepreneurship journey where it's like, I'm worth nothing. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to buy my stuff. But reminding yourself that you do have something worthwhile is so key. Can you speak a little bit more about like the mindset? Because sometimes when we see people's journeys, we forget that they also go through the mindset struggles as well.
For sure. Yeah. Listen, you wouldn't be human if you don't go through, mindset struggles, because I think the reality of it is that part of being an entrepreneur is we're just figuring stuff out and we don't have all the answers. And there is certainly an element of uncertainty with what it is that we do. That's also the magic and fun of it too, is that we are experimenting and we're trying and we're learning. And but one of the quotes that has stayed with me for so many years is from the great Nelson Mandela. And he said, I never lose. I either win or I learn. He said, I never lose. I either win or I learn. In fact, this quote impacted me so much that we have it on the wall in my son's bedroom because it's a great mindset about all the things that we're doing in life and in business. And no matter what we're doing in business, we're either winning, getting the result that we want, or we're learning, and that's moving us closer to the result that we want. And so I think as entrepreneurs, we've just got to approach things that like an experiment. And so as soon as you do that, you relieve yourself of so much pressure, like that you have to get it right this time. No, you don't, but it's worth noting that you're going to learn something this time that will move you closer to that outcome. And that's a huge win. And so, I think as entrepreneurs, it's really easy to put pressure on ourselves. And, we want to hold ourselves to a high standard that everything's got to be perfect and everything's got to be right. But what I've learned in my journey is that as an entrepreneur, I'm going to make way more progress just by putting things out there and seeing how people react to it and whether people buy or don't buy or whether the messaging lands or it doesn't land. And that is tremendously valuable. And as long as you pay attention as an entrepreneur, you can then double down on the things that work and do less of the things that don't. Like, it's a pretty straightforward, simple formula, right? And I just think that too often we get wrapped up in, worrying about what others think, worrying about like the fact that it's got to be perfect. And the reality of it is that this is just one big experiment, and we're just putting stuff out there and we're trying and we're seeing. And as soon as you adopt that mindset, everything becomes so much easier.
So true. And like you always say, think of yourself as a scientist with your lab
Yeah,
on.
exactly. Yeah.
Now I learned something new, but clarity comes with action, right? So put it out there. Now, back to predictable profits and the membership. Something I wanted to talk about is the size of your audience, because I know that's a sticky point for many people, and being like, well, good for you. You already were working with clients. You already had a business. So you were just teaching the people that were already kind of around. But
Yeah.
in the spirit of experimentation and seeing how people respond, can you talk about how people could put this membership idea together, even if they don't have clients already or an audience?
Yeah, well, first thing I would do is I would look to work with somebody, like look to work with a person. And so the way in which we identify those people is we get real clear on specifically who we're looking to serve and how we're looking to help. So here's a bird example. My wife started a luxury Airbnb in our area, and which you can find if you go on Instagram and just search Dover Lake House, you'll see it. And she's done a phenomenal job. She's grown this where we're booked all the time. We on average charge 3 times the average nightly rate for our area. She gets 5-star reviews. She's been she's earned the award of like super host. Like, she just does an amazing job. And so she often gets other people who ask her, hey, like, can you give me some advice on, starting my own Airbnb or my own luxury Airbnb? And she doesn't think twice. She's just constantly, helpful, answering questions, et cetera, et cetera. And I said to her one day, I'm like, babes, like, you should totally turn this into a membership. And she's like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's that fear again. Like, I don't know if anybody's going to listen to me. I don't know. And I was like, babes, you're getting asked questions all the time. And so in that scenario, the first step that we did was we just went on to a couple Facebook groups that were for, short-term rentals or Airbnbs, et cetera. And I just scanned the Facebook feed in these groups. And very quickly, I could immediately identify a bunch of issues and problems and questions that people kept asking over and over and over again. And it was like, in Amy's mind, questions that seemed almost silly, but to somebody who was starting out, like, they just didn't know the answers. They were asking, like, what kinds of linens do you use in the beds? Do you use white sheets or colored sheets? Like, what about your towels? Like, all this kind of stuff. And so I started to see the same questions popping up. And I said to Amy, I'm like, well, how would you respond to this? And she's like, well, I buy this kind of brand and I do that kind of thing. And I was like, okay, those are things that people want to know. And so often we discount the information that we have gained and learned throughout the years because we just assume that everybody knows that stuff, and they don't. So the first thing is you want to get clear on specifically who you help and what specific problem are you looking to help them with. Then what you want to do is you want to float it out there that you're looking to work with somebody and you want to help them, even if it's for free in the beginning. And the reason you want to do that is because then you want to start shaping what it is that you're going to share by actually working with somebody and helping them through the process of going from where they are to where they want to be. And you're going to document that journey. You're going to make note of, like, what kinds of questions are coming up? Where are they getting stuck? What kinds of resources could you create to support them and help them?
Hey, let me ask you a question.
Would you like to be my next guest on the Empowered Woman podcast? Do you have a story you'd like to share? Want more visibility for your business on a show ranked in the top 0.5% in the world? Well, then head on over to martasburke.com/podcast guest for more information.
You have helped that one person begin to experience progress. And it doesn't mean that we have to wait until they've achieved the final outcome. We just need to show that they are beginning to experience progress. And now that becomes your one case study story that you are going to tell over and over and over again. And the reality of it is that that one story will lead to 3, and the 3 will lead to 10, and the 10 will lead to 100. And that's how you begin. And so I think it's not that we don't know what to do. It's more the fear of actually starting to do it. And what I want to encourage people to do is hold space for the best possible outcome. Like I think of Jennifer Chamberlain as an example. She never, ever considered herself a businesswoman. Like that was the farthest thing from her radar. But she was passionate about teaching women her age how to paint. She's a 50-something grandma. And she said, I want to help women my age rekindle their creative spirit. And she wanted to show them how to paint. And so she started and she did a founding member launch and she welcomed 20 members, not like thousands. She didn't have a massive audience. She had a couple hundred people that were following her, did a founding member launch. She welcomed 20 members. Well, by the end of that first year, that 20 had grown to 100. And by the end of the second year, that had grown to just over 200. And then as she was going into her third year, it was like something clicked. Like she realized like, oh my gosh, I am running a successful business. I am a businesswoman. And it was like that shift in identity that then propelled her in that third year. She went from 200 members to more than 2,000, and it became a multi-million-dollar a year membership. And so it started with 20 members. And so we often like discount the progress that we're making when we're working with a few clients or a few members, because we think, oh my gosh, this isn't the business that I want right now. But we got to let go of this pressure that it's got to instantaneously be this monster success and realize that growing a business is a progression. But here's the good news. It's like once you get started, you're going to see progress happen so slow. And then all of a sudden, it just begins to take off because all that work and energy and, learnings and experience, it starts to compound and it hits that inflection point, and that's when things take off. And I've seen it time and time again. Jennifer's a great example.
Yeah, I love that. The stories are great. Thank you so much. I always love hearing the stories for sure. Let's get back to the book. What is the inspiration for the book? Why now? And what can we expect? Is it foundation for memberships? Tell me more.
It is my best work poured into 250 pages. So think of it like nearly 2 decades of helping people launch, grow, and scale highly profitable memberships squeezed into 250 pages. So the reason that I am really proud of this book is because, as I said, it is my best work. And there are so many case studies, stories, examples. There's practical strategies. In fact, I was sharing this with a group, my highest level mastermind. These are all people running 7- and 8-figure memberships, and they were getting lots from it. Sarah Williams was talking about chapter 32, where I'm talking about 12 proven promotional tactics and strategies for membership growth. She's got not one, but 2 multi-million-dollar memberships. And she's just like, man, that chapter was packed with ideas that I want to begin using. So it's great for somebody who is thinking about starting a membership site, but it's also super valuable for somebody who's already got one, because if you've already got one, you know, like one idea can have this massive compounding difference. And so for, the price of a book, this is a steal of a deal. But the other reason that I'm really passionate about this is because survey after survey of business owners reveals that their number one stress is not knowing where the next sale is going to come from. And so my whole goal and objective is to help eradicate that stress for entrepreneurs. And that's why I'm passionate about this, because if more business owners have recurring revenue in their business, they don't experience that kind of stress. And it frees them up to focus on the things that matter most. And it frees them up to be able to move forward in their business with confidence, whether it's, investing in their marketing or hiring into their team. But you can do that with confidence when you know that the money is going to come from your membership. So I'm a firm believer that every entrepreneur should have some form of recurring revenue, if not multiple forms of recurring revenue in their business. And that's exactly what this book will show you how to do.
I love it. And where can we find it? Is it on Amazon? All the different
All the places. But you can also, to make it easy, we pulled them all together at stu.me/book. So it's the shortest URL ever, stu.me/book.
We'll definitely link that in the show notes. I just wanted to touch on something real quick because you're talking about, if you have that predictability, you can dedicate your time to other things in your life that matter to you. And I know you have a family, but you also have lots of initiatives helping communities, even in Africa. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think it's so beautiful every time you share about it.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, I am blessed because I have an amazing wife, and she's amazing for so many reasons. But one of the many reasons is that she really opened my eyes to the opportunity that we have as entrepreneurs to be able to have an incredible impact. I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, we take for granted what we're able to do. Like, there are very few people who can come up with an idea and turn it into a source of income. And there are even fewer people who are willing to and have the courage to move forward with those ideas. So that's a skill set that is very rare. And what it does is it allows us to see opportunity everywhere. And so what Amy really showed me was that if we can channel that energy, we can have a tremendous impact in this world. And so 16 years ago, we started our nonprofit. It's called Village Impact. And she just had a passion for bringing education to kids who couldn't normally access it. She is a traveler. She loves to travel around the world, but she's often traveling to like remote areas to really learn about the culture. And that's when she saw like there were just a lot of kids that wanted to go to school that just couldn't. So 16 years ago, we set out to build our very first school, and we did not know what we were doing. It was a lot of learning. We made a lot of mistakes along the way, but fast forward, and we've now built 15 schools. We're working on our 16th right now. And the one that we launched last year, so to speak, was an all-girls high school. So more than it's set for roughly 900 girls to go to that school. And we even had the president of Kenya come and open that school with us, which was like a true honor. And what I realized in all of this is that making money is a really good thing. It's a really honorable thing. And I used to feel guilty about making money for a long time, and it held me back. But the moment that I realized the good that we can do as we make more money was the moment that I had my breakthrough as an entrepreneur. It's the moment that I went from like mid six figures to millions of dollars a year and have never looked back. Because in that moment, I realized like the more money I make, the more impact I can have. And so my wife and I, we love making money. Universe, we love making money. Like, I love it because it just means we can do more good. And whether that's with a cause or a passion that you are dedicated to, like in our case, it's the charity, or whether it's doing things for loved ones and family and friends and creating amazing experiences for them. I think at the end of the day, when you have money, you can do more good. And so this is one of the reasons I love being an entrepreneur, and one of the reasons I love helping entrepreneurs make more money is because together we can have a huge impact in this world. And so we're trying to do our little bit. We've got our schools over in Kenya that now provide education for more than 5,000 plus kids. We take a group of donors to go see the schools every 2 years. We're going back this summer, which I'm super excited for. And it's one of those things that has made being an entrepreneur so incredibly meaningful and valuable. And so I'm super grateful to Amy because she's the one that really opened my eyes to the whole benefits of being able to give to causes that we're passionate about.
Oh, that's so amazing. You're such an inspiration. Thank you so much for all the amazing stuff that you do. So before we wrap up, I like to ask all of my guests a question. Since the name of the show is The Empowered Woman, I typically ask, what is an empowered woman then? But for my guy guests, I ask, what is an empowered human then to you?
Well, I think an empowered human is somebody who understands the tension that we all experience in life and yet still has the courage to move forward despite that tension. So I'll give you an example. Like, we have tension all the time in our lives, whether it's like, the focus on career or family, like if anybody watching and listening has probably experienced, like, if you dedicated 100% of your time just to your business, I'm certain that the business would be at a much different level than it is right now. But there's a tension there because I don't just want to dedicate all my time and energy to the business, because I also want to be present for my kids and for my wife. And so there's tension there. And that tension forces us to figure things out. Like, how can we continue to do both? And how can we continue to do both in a meaningful way? And I think an empowered person, understands those dynamics and understands that tension, and they don't let themselves like get pulled in any one direction and out of alignment with what it is that they truly want. And so to me, an empowered person is somebody who, is clear about what they're trying to accomplish and achieve, is patient in that they don't need it this instant, but they're working toward it. And that they, as Stephen Covey once said, they keep the main thing, which is like, above all else, like, what is the top priority? And that should never be sacrificed. And so for us and Amy, we've set boundaries and rules in our family that, keep the main thing, which is our kids and our family. And with our daughter, she's 14 this year. Our son is 11. So they're entering into this, period of time when we as parents may not be the primary influence in their lives, because their friends and their social networks play a huge role right now. And so the time that we do have with them, we want to make sure that time is maximized and that we can be an influence in helping them, think through their values, think through the decisions that they make, think through relationships and how to navigate these tricky waters, and being present for them. And so to me, an empowered person understands that it means it's going to create tension in your life, and that's okay, but you're moving forward through it with alignment and a focus on keeping the main thing.
Yeah, I love that. So good. Well, how can people connect with you besides going and getting a copy of your book? Where are you hanging out these days?
Yeah, well, number one, as you said, go grab a copy of the book. I also recorded the audio for this book. So many times people will listen to the audio and follow along in the physical book, which doubles your ability to absorb everything. But the other great place to find me is on Instagram. It's just my name, Stu McLaren. I do answer my own DMs and I'm constantly sharing there. So come find me over on Instagram.
Amazing. Well, we'll have all the links in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing with us. This was great.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends, or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.